Hello everyone. Today we read the copy of Apurva Pandey ma'am and she scored very decent marks in essay. It was perhaps the highest till date, 175 marks. So let's read her essay. There were four topics given: social media and anti-social media, global economy, boon or bane for the local economy. You can change friends but not neighbors. And fourth one was two cheers for democracy. One, because it admits variety, and two, because it permits criticism. Two cheers for democracy. One, because it admits variety, and two, because it permits criticism. So she chose this essay. Perhaps her optional was PSIR, so she had points way better than all these. Let's read it through. When India won independence in 1947, there were glimmering hopes and rising expectation in the eyes of millions. But there were also doubts, and not irrational ones, that questioned the future of democracy in India. The Western press especially refused to accept that India could emerge as a successful democracy. To them, India was a land of snake charmers where poverty cohabited with illiteracy and ignorance. How could the experiment of universal adult franchise be successful in a land where people are starving and dying of hunger? What logic, what rationality could be expected from the hungry, illiterate public of India? So this was a very good introduction. She has used example of India in order to build her essay. Let's read further. Touted as a great Indian election, Western media critically analyzed the birth of democracy in India. Fortunately, India not only conducted elections successfully, but the democracy that was seeded in 1951 continues to flourish till date. One must accept the fact that democracy of India didn't look like viable theoretically, but perhaps that precisely is the beauty of democracy. It admits all variety and permits all criticism and evolves continuously to fit right into the ethos of a nation. So she has repeated the topic of the essay very beautifully while explaining the story of India. This was a very good introduction. The concept of democracy finds its roots in ancient. Now she has started explaining democracy itself. The concept of democracy finds its roots in ancient Greek thought. While Aristotle was not a great fan of democracy and often compared it to mobocracy, he also acknowledged the role of public participation in politics in order to fix a perverted state. Perhaps she's very beautifully using her optional knowledge in a very simplified manner. Later, American and French revolutions associated democracy with fundamental rights, liberty, and equality and fraternity. And democracy continued to evolve. The Democratic National Assembly, formed in the aftermath of the French Revolution, was a landmark moment in this evolutionary process. That age was dominated by thinkers like Rousseau, who emphatically stated that true freedom is achieved only when state is run as per the general will of the people. Now, this is a very clear cut description of how democracy evolved to various stages that she has tried to mention over here. She has very beautifully used thinkers. Eventually, Europe was democratized in entirety, but imperialistic ambitions continued to enslave most of the world. The people of these colonial worlds yearned to find their voice, but which they knew they could find only in a fledgling democracy, and so arose the grand national movement of India, firmly embedded in democratic principles, so that new India emerged as a temple of democratic faith. Now, she puts a heading: Democracy Admits Variety, which is also mentioned in the uh, topic of this. India is a diverse land. It is often claimed that there are more similarities between two nations in Europe than between two states in India. Here, diversity itself is a diverse, manifesting itself. Here, diversity itself is diverse, manifesting itself in culture, religion, language, region, caste, ethnicity, and so on. However, such diversity is carefully preserved and delicately held together. is very nicely used these words, delicately held together by democratic culture prevalent in India. The Indian Constitution acknowledges India's Indian diversity and through various measures ranging from Article 14 equality before law to Article 25 freedom to practice, profess and propagate the religion of one's choice, it attempts to respect our variety. Democratic states around the world are generally more tolerant towards differences, while countries like India constitutionally preserves one's right to be different. Non-democratic states around the world are seen vehemently suppressing cultural dissent. Middle East countries are marred in religious orthodoxy, whereas religious difference is seen as an anomaly and penalized accordingly. In Pakistan, minorities are liberally booked under blasphemy laws by following their faith. The impact of army state on Myanmar has ensured that Rohingyas continue to perish and are subjected to unimaginable atrocities. However, the topmost contender in this category is Hitler's Nazi state that mercilessly persecuted any variety it traced, from Jews to the communists, from liberals to those with unique sexual orientations. The Nazi state ruthlessly exterminated variety. What is common among all the instances is the state's obvious contempt for democracy. Democratically challenged states do not respect variety because power here vests in an individual or a group. Democracy deinstitutionalizes power, diffuses and decentralizes it. Universal adult franchise ensures that the issues of minorities, marginalized, and the queer are also addressed since they too are armed with the power to vote. Democracy also allows diverse groups to mobilize and pool their power together to emerge as a dominant force. For example, the Rainbow Movement in USA, despite catering to a minority group, the LGBTQ community garnered sizable political importance owing to the democratic credentials of the country. The LGBTQ rights issue is being talked about and even accepted in the democratic states around the world. Even in India, hue and cry was raised when Supreme Court judgment on Section 377 came out. But in non-democratic countries, there is no debate, and the voice of LGBTQ community remains stifled so that it is almost like they don't exist in those lands. Democratic states like UK, France, Scandinavian countries, India might experience as few instances of conflict based on identity. State might even surpass diverse voices and disrespect variety, suppress diverse voices and disrespect variety. However, such instances are isolated and occur once in a while. Undemocratic states, on the other hand, perpetually impose uniform identity and homogeneity on its people, thereby suppressing variety. The second part, democracy permitting criticism. Democracy makes the state accountable to people, while lack of accountability gives absolute power to state. An accountable state allows people to channel their expectations toward the state through criticism. The famous democratic peace theory deserves a mention in this respect. As per this theory, war is less likely in a democratic state. This is because it is the people who are most affected by war, and they can pressurize and criticize the state to give up on war when it appears damaging to them. For instance, public opinion in the aftermath of Iraq war has made USA increasingly reluctant in stationing its troops in the midst of international conflicts, and hence no boots on ground doctrine. Undemocratic states, in sharp contrast, stifle criticism and fully embark on expansionist wars while public simmers in discontent. As such, modern world, especially in the aftermath of World War II, has rarely seen a war between two democratic powers. The past couple of years have seen multiple referendums where direct democracy was deployed to seek answers to crucial questions like Brexit, Colombia peace process, Turkey constitutional reforms, and so on. Even though the result of these referendums was surprising and controversial, it suggests that the government and the people are not always on the same page. Democracy gives public the right to express its opinion, no matter how controversial may be. But when such power is taken away from the people, as in undemocratic states, and when states are unable to who gauge the true opinion of their people, as in the above instances, the public begins to feel alienated. It then starts to associate itself with regional, religious, or ethnic identities and in turn wage war on the state. Civil war becomes the norm when public does not find an opportunity to vent its frustration through criticism. An obvious example of such a phenomena is the turn of events in the Syrian state. Colonial era India had zero tolerance for criticism against the state. The Sedition Act, Vernacular Press Act, the Rowlatt Act imposed inhibitions on the masses and prevented them from airing their criticism against the state. However, post independence India saw the right to freedom of speech and expression, innovations like RTI and the Lokpal Act to provide efficient tools to the common man to criticize the government of the day. As such, individuals today are empowered and content as compared to the public colonial era. The change is the nature of the state from the authoritarian one. The change in the nature of the state from an authoritarian one, claiming to be a benevolent dictator, to a democratic state through and through, has resulted in massive, multi-dimensional improvement in the state of affairs, such as the power of dissent in democracy. India's power lies in three Ds: demography, demand, and democracy. Among those, democracy has emerged as an unwavering value and unflinching source of light that refuses to be extinguished. India underwent the dark era of emergency, where civil rights were practically suspended for more than 2 years, yet democracy bounced back, untarnished and stronger. Such is the power of people once realized it cannot be stifled, no matter how powerful the oppressor is. A spark of revolt in Tunisia led to the wave of revolutions throughout the Arab world during the Arab Spring. This indicates how one small instance can lead to massive change if people gain consciousness and take power in their hands. Rousseau very famously said, "Man is born free, but everywhere he goes, he is in chains." The freedom he seeks lies in the idea of democracy. So that was a brilliant essay, and no doubt she deserved so many marks. We'll have to see how she has, uh, you know, framed different points and expressed them so beautifully. The flow in the essay was brilliant, and she has not used very much headings, limited headings, but she has explained them beautifully with very good points and rich points. So thank you. Next time we'll come with another essay, and we'll analyze them too.